Hello everybody, I'm Thrash Maniac HD, and yes, in the title of the video, this is your top 10 hard rock heavy metal albums of 2013. And before I get started, I just want to say this list is my opinion only. If you guys have albums that you were disappointed to not see make the list, and you want me to put it on the list, sorry, this is my list, my opinion. If you guys have any albums I missed out on the list and you want me to check them out, send me a link or something to the albums and I'll check them out for myself and see what I think. But before I get to the list, I want to mention 5 honorable mentions for this list. Suffocation's Pinnacle of Bedlam. I thought that album was a good album. It's a shame Mike Smith isn't in the band anymore because I was really looking forward to hearing what he can do on the kit. But hey, Dave Koros is a good replacement for him, but I don't think he can top what Mike Smith can do because Mike Smith is the master blaster, I would say, on the drums. But hopefully next album Mike Smith can come back into the band one more time, give it another shot. And yeah, but still, it doesn't take away how good this album was. I thought this was a really good release. Frank Mullen's voice hasn't lost a beat. Still deep, still brutal, still heavy. Can't go wrong. Speaking of death metal, next honorable mention is 6 Feet Under's Unborn. Compared to the album before, Undead, a lot better produced. Mostly with the drums. I mean, the guitars, the bass, and the vocals on Undead were well produced, but the drums weren't. Everything on Unborn was well produced. And I can't stop listening to the song Prophecy. That's like become my favorite 6 Feet Under song. Um, but yeah, 6 Feet Under, Unborn, really, really good album. Chris Barnes' voice still brutal and low as ever, and that's good. The next two are from the same band, but they came out at different times. Five Finger Death Punch's Wrong Side of Heaven, Righteous Side of Hell, Volumes 1 and 2. I thought both albums were good, although I didn't think it was better. I didn't think either one of them were better than American Capitalist, and I don't think any of their albums from now on, unless they really, really surprise me, I don't think any of their albums could top Way of the Fist or War is the Answer. There's just no way, because those two were the templates for Five Finger Death Punch. But still, these two are good albums nonetheless. And then the final honorable mention, I know some people are going to be like, oh, why is this even mentioned at all? Because this album sucked. Oh, no, da, 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 da. I personally liked the album, although I didn't think it was better than their last 4 albums, but still, it was a good album nonetheless for me. Megadeth Super Collider. I mean, I liked it because it was a heavier sounding album guitar wise, and I liked their experimentation. And I know some people say, "Oh, this album was absolutely terrible," and blah 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 because it wasn't thrash. Dude, it's like when it comes to me. I mean, I'm a big thrash metal fanboy. Well, not a fanboy, but a big fan of thrash metal, but I also like it when thrash bands experiment, and that's what Megadeth did on this album. I mean, I'm not going to go into too much detail other than I personally like the album, and that's my opinion. Simple as that. And before I continue, I just want to say real quick, if you guys want to check out some cool album reviews, go subscribe to Cover Killer Nation. He is the best album reviewer I've seen on YouTube, and he's the inspiration for me to do album reviews a lot more on my channels because I really want to expand my horizons as far as making videos from doing strictly wrestling videos instead of me talking about anything else. Even though I am part of the YWC, but I don't want to make my whole channel be nothing but just wrestling, 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 and feel like I'm a robot talking. I want to talk about other stuff like sports and music, video games, entertainment in general. And music is my other big outlet other than wrestling. Hard rock, heavy metal, and classic rock music in particular is my music of choice. But But yeah, and Cover Killer Nation, I hope you're watching this video because that would be really cool for me. And we should chat on Twitter. If you guys haven't followed him, and I hear my stupid phone ringing, I'm not even going to answer it, so just fuck it. But anyways, yeah, Cover Killer Nation, go subscribe to him. Even though he doesn't really need a plug, he's got a shitload of subscribers. But he deserves a lot of subscribers. Hell, he deserves to be in the millions, if you ask me. And, yeah. But anyways, let's get down to it, to the top 10, shall we? Number 10, the new Ghost album, Infestusnam. Oh my god, that was completely terrible, but I'm sorry. But I'm not a very good pronouncer of that album's title. But the new Ghost album, I should say. The recent album. 2013's new album from Ghost. I thought it was a really good album. It's like, if you want to hear resemblance in new bands to the 70s hard rock heavy metal sound, Ghost is the band. And I like the way Jim Florentine put it. They're like a three-way mix of Black Sabbath, Merciful Fate, and Blue Oyster Cult. The riffs of Sabbath and the doomness of Sabbath, the lyrics of Merciful Fate, and the sound a little bit, and like the dark sound and the vocals from Blue Oyster Cult. And real quick, I do not give a shit if people in America have to call them Ghost BC. They're Ghost. You're not going to get arrested by calling them by not calling them Ghost BC. They're Ghost. I'm sorry, but I had to get that off my chest because it's ridiculous that they had to change their name to Ghost BC. That's absolutely stupid. It's Ghost. But still, this album was really good. I'm looking forward to what they can do on their next album. Number 9, Children of Bodom's Halo of Blood. I thought this album was a real good return to form to how they were back in the late 90s, early 2000s, with the four-way combination that they do of melodic death metal, thrash metal, power metal, and symphonic black metal. I thought that this was a really good album. Alexi still shredding and screaming and growling. It's just amazing. I've always been a fan. I've always liked Children of Bodom, but I'm not like a gigantic fan, but I'm a big fan of them. I like what they can do with their music. Number 8, same goes with Children of Bodom with the band for number 8. Number 8, Dream Theater's self-titled album. I thought this was another good album from Dream Theater. I've always liked Dream Theater, but I'm not like a die-hard Dream Theater fan. But I do like Dream Theater. I like how they're bringing progressive metal to the masses. Especially back in the 90s when playing your instruments well wasn't cool. They brought it and made it popular. And Dream Theater always has respect for what they can do. I mean, the long songs are just chaotic instrument-wise because they're just going everywhere. Guitar, bass, drums, vocals, keyboards. Absolutely amazing. Plus, Mike Portnoy is one of the greatest drummers to ever live. And it's a shame he's not in the band anymore. I hope he comes back sometime, because I think he still has a lot to offer to Dream Theater. But anyways, number 7, Alice in Chains, The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here. Weird album title, I know, but still, this album was a really good album. Now, I always wanted to say this about Alice in Chains. A lot of people out there classify them as a grunge band. I don't hear any grunge influence at all with Alice in Chains. I always thought Alice in Chains was a straightforward, traditional heavy metal band. They have a good Sabbath sound to them. Real darkness about them is pure metal. And yeah, just everything about them is metal. The only reason I would say they're grunge is because they're from Seattle. When in reality, that's kind of bogus, because before them there was Queensryche and Watchtower, Sanctuary, and Nevermore. There was a bunch of bands from Seattle that are metal, not grunge. So, yeah, I don't get how they're classified as grunge when they're really not. They're metal, just through and through. But it's whatever. But this album was really good. By the way, big fan of the song Stone. So, yeah. Alright, number 6. Deicide's In the Minds of Evil. Now, you want to hear some straightforward satanic death metal? Deicide is the band for that matter. Because their lyrics are straightforward evil, and this album was certainly no different. But this was so brutal, too. I mean, Deicide's always been like the combination of brutal death metal and even a little technical death metal and satanic death metal. Because they go absolutely out of control with the music they play. I mean, Glenn Benton's voice is absolutely deadly. Steve Asheim on drums is absolutely crushing. I mean, holy shit. But yeah, Deicide in the Minds of Evil, really good album. I would check it out. Now we get to the top 5. Number 5, Killswitch Engage, Disarmed Descent. I thought for Jesse Leach to come back into the band for the first time in about 10 to 11 years, I felt like his voice got better over the years. Especially when I listened to the Roadrunner United All-Star Sessions album when he did the song Blood and Flames. I thought his voice was stepped up from the first 2 Killswitch albums as far as clean vocals. And this album, he definitely stepped it up on the clean vocal side. His screaming and his growling still is apparent, but his clean vocals was great on this album. I don't think he's better than Howard Jones, clean vocal-wise, but he's getting better. And this album was a good step for the band. Another really good release from Killswitch. Now we get to number 4. Black Dahlia Murder's Ever Black. You want to hear some good American melodic death metal? Black Dahlia Murder is the band. Also Deathclot. Those are the 2 bands, melodic death metal-wise, I think are the best of the best for American melodic death metal. Now, I want to quick point out something real quick here. This is a message to Chronics from Most Extreme Wrestling. I know you hate Black Dahlia Murder, but I really don't get why. I mean, Black Dahlia Murder, they're doing a great job by helping melodic death metal become popular in America, since most melodic death metal bands come from Europe. These guys, and Deathclock are the 2 bands that personify melodic death metal in America. Black Dahlia Murder, actually with this album, they brought in more old school death metal influence rather than being all a big melodic death metal album. They brought in old school death metal influence to it, which I really enjoyed. Brought in some of those elements from the Florida death metal scene from the late 80s, early 90s. And that was really cool. So, yeah, Black Dahlia Murder's Ever Black, I thought was a great album. Check it out. Number 3, and I know a lot of people who are diehard metal fans are like, oh, why did you put this at number 3? Again, this is my list, my opinion only. So, number 3, Avenged Sevenfold, Hail to the King. I thought it was a great album, but not better than Nightmare or really any of the albums before. I think it was better than Sounding the Seventh Trumpet. But I thought Hail to the King was a great album because I love their experimentation as far as going from the fast speed metal kind of band to being more traditional with their sound by being more stripped down, being more like a 90s Metallica, Black Sabbath, Megadeth kind of style by mixing all that into the album. And I really liked it. Not only because Avenged Sevenfold's my second favorite band of all time, but I like their music. Their music is really good, or great actually. And this album I thought was a great step for them, and I give them a lot of praise for taking a risk and prevailing with it. Can't wait for their next album to come out. I'm really going to look forward to see what they're going to do for the next album. But yeah. Now we get to where it gets very, very tough. Because these next 2, oh man. This is where it got very tough for me to make the list permanently. Because both of these albums were return albums for a couple bands who haven't made a studio album in 17, 18 years together. So, I kind of thought about doing a coin toss for this or something, but after re-listening to the albums, because I liked what one band has been around for a long time and another band's been around for a long time as well, but not as long as the other band. I know that's a weird thing to say, but it's true. This was just a tough choice to pick, and one album came out in the summer, one came out in the fall. And the one that came out in the summer is the one that's number 2, Black Sabbath 13. I thought this album was phenomenal. This was Sabbath's first studio album out since 1995, but the first album to feature Ozzy since '78's Never Say Die. And Ozzy on his solo albums in the last few years, his voice has gotten better. And he sounds just as great as he did back in the '70s and the '80s and the early '90s. I thought his vocal performance on this album was great, and the riffs by Tony Iommi were there, the bass was there. I know some people were kind of disappointed that Bill Ward wasn't in the band because of what had happened, but I thought Brad Wilk, him being from Rage Against the Machine, playing like standard metal drum beats and stuff, I thought Brad Wilk did a fantastic job on the drum kit on this album, and then Tommy Clefeo's on the touring side does a good job. Excuse me. But with this album, sounds just like it was in the '70s, with like more of the modern style to it as well. So you kind of mix their old school stuff from the '70s and the album Heaven and Hell together with a little bit of modern influence, a little bit. And this album was phenomenal. Black Sabbath together again for one final album, one final tour, and this album was kick ass. When you got songs like The End of the Beginning, God is Dead, and Loner, and Zeitgeist, holy crap. This album was holy shit. But I don't think it was quite as a holy shit than number 1. Number 1, Carcass, Surgical Steel. I thought this album was slightly better because Carcass, with this album, this was their first album since 1996's Swan Song, and this album mixed in a lot of their old school elements to it. I thought the best way I would put this is the riffs, the guitars, and everything about it. Not everything, but like this has the riffs and the sound of the album Hard Work and even Swan Song, with the lyrics from like Reek of Putrefaction, Symphonies of Sickness, and Necroticism. I thought the lyrics were bad. The lyrics going back to the gore stuff was absolutely genius for them, but the sound and the riffs, pure Hard Work Swan Song sounding, which you could classify that as melodic death metal, which I would agree. This was a very good, gory melodic death metal album. I loved it. I thought the riffs were amazing, and the song Mountain of Execution. Holy shit. That song, being over 8 minutes long and sounds diverse and just so fresh. It just, no words can describe this album. Surgical Steel was amazing. I thought it was just a tiny pinch better than the new Sabbath album, but I screwed that up bad. Carcass of Surgical Steel is highly recommended. Holy shit. And I will plan to do reviews on all these albums at some point, so I can go more in depth about it. But yeah, that's your top 10 hard rock heavy metal albums of 2013. Quickly recap. Honorable mentions: Suffocation, Pinnacle of Bedlam, 6 Feet Under, Unborn, Five Finger Death Punches, Wrong Side of Heaven, Righteous Side of Hell, Volumes 1 and 2, Megadeth, Super Collider, the new Ghost album. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name again because it's bad. Children of Bodom, Halo of Blood, Dream Theater self-titled album, Alice in Chains, Put the Dinosaurs Here, Deicide in the Minds of Evil, Killswitch Engage, Arm and Sin, Black Dahlia Murder, Ever Black, Avenged Sevenfold, Hail to the King, Black Sabbath 13, and number 1, Carcass Surgical Steel. Wow. That was a lot of things to say in just 30 seconds. But if you guys if you guys out there who are subscribed to my channels and are big heavy metal fans and you want to make your own list, feel free. I like to hear what other people have to say about this year in heavy metal. I thought this was a pretty good year. I thought this has been the best year since about 2009. Hopefully 2014. There we go. Gosh, I'm so messed up today, but hopefully 2014 can be better. And we'll see. We need a list of albums to come out soon, people. But anyways, NXT review will be coming up tomorrow again. Another Saturday review, sorry, but yeah. But anyways, peace.